Okay, Duane, there's this idea about stepping up. I believe stepping up to do something is all about seeing the greater picture or anticipating it and deciding to do something. But we see in the case of this uh, lady, Jolie, she's just come in. It's not it's not quite a month or so, and already she's been taken to the seventh level, and you know, uh, it will seem like those who have been there before her are wasting their time. They don't have such experiences, and if we're talking about uh, stepping up, she's hardly done any of the things that would normally recommend for somebody who has stepped up. So I don't know whether this is not a paradox. Yet there are others who are quiet, effaced, and maybe discreet. They have discreet ways to do things that may never be known by others. So I don't know whether these people who are quiet, effaced, and discreet, they don't want to come into the public. Have they not stepped up because they have not publicly shown themselves? Or doesn't mean that if they stay in their quiet corners, their stepping up is null and void, or what? So I thought about this. Thought about the housewife who starts singing the new song and then understands the true value of service to family and friends. And then what about the teacher who becomes more enthused uh, with his work and becomes a better teacher, whereas before he did not have, uh, he was not motivated to give more of himself. So would it not be stepping up if their activities don't come under the notice of the wonderful worldwide educators? Because I guess life itself knows us and our true intent. And even if unrecognized by others, life has seen us and life has noticed that we are doing something, we have stepped up. Uh, so, what do you say about this, Greg?
No, I get what you're saying, Charles. And yeah, everybody's doing it in their own way. It's just like a mother that has children and she feeds them, of course. You know, that's going to come first, survival. But all of a sudden one day there's a child at the door and, you know, he's all alone, little guy or little girl. And what does the woman say? You know, maybe go down the street and see what you can find, or she invites him in, etc. So again, it's choice, isn't it? Everything's a choice. And that is that for me, my view for me is that I see what's possible, and then I also see what else is possible. That's it. In other words, I've said this before. You know, Paul basically he just wrote. That's what he did. You know, Paul didn't even go on TV or the radio. He really didn't even want to do that. He just wrote. He created the basis. Me, I see what's possible. I decide to do this and that, basically as much as I can. World finances, everything, projects, etc. I try to do everything because I see the world as what it is. And so we make choices. And so when I'm saying step up, what I mean is that yes, realistically, everybody can do whatever they want. It's your life. It's your right. But there's always more that's possible. And you look at Rebazar and the boys and whatever, see, they do everything. They absolutely They confront everything. They don't pick and choose. They confront everything. They deal with everything. That's the everything position. Now, respectfully, I've seen this before. The boys choose certain individuals to have certain experiences, and other people all of a sudden they wonder, well, why don't I have that experience too? I get it, and that's just how it is. They decide, etc. And so it's kind of like this gal that has this experience, and I've seen this before. I remember there's one other gal in the Philippines. She did the New You a few times. She was a little scared at first. She left her body. And she immediately went into the 7th level. She saw all the real guides. She saw myself there. We all greeted her. Okay. It was all light. We greeted her. That was her first experience. And she came from religion. She's very devout religious, The boys see the individual's heart. It's more than just doing things and this and that. This is the idea. Yes, that's part of it. And what I'm sharing when I say step up is that, in other words, try different things, experiment with yourself, see what works to have these certain experiences. And not everybody will have these things. Some will just have the knowingness. The reality of life is really invisible. It really is. What is more so than the light itself? In the real universe, it's the invisible part where you don't see. It's an isness. And so again, but this is hard on the personal self. I get it. But the idea is that I just put ideas out there. Paul said the same thing. He said, yes, you can, you read the courses, you do the Hugh chant, that's what it was at that time. And you just do your life. You be a good person. But if you want to add more, then you become involved with something. You like plan a seminar, or you be an usher at the seminar, or you pass out flyers to others, and you let them know about Paul and it was the Eck Masters at the time, etc. And he added that part of it too. And so because the world is what it is today, it's tougher. It grabs our attention, etc. And these experiences are going to come through. But it's interesting too, and I've known many people with these far out experiences. And guess what? I've seen them come and go also. And I'm not saying this will happen, but my girlfriend that I had for over 25 years, while I was still married, and I talk about that in book 2. Well, book 8 is Blue Sky Island. That was her. That was Heather. It's very real. She had these experiences, awesome experiences with Reva Zar and the boys, etc. And at a certain point, she said, "No, I'm done." You see. So again, and I see her gone back to future lifetimes. I've seen her on the real side. I've seen her shrink back and go into future lives. You see, it's choice. And so, yes, the experiences, and even when you hear them, when I hear somebody give an experience, I'm standing there right with it. It's really neat how it is. And this is where I recommend that, yes, people get together, they share, they do projects, they whatever, get this focus, because it's very important to keep these focuses. And that is that, yes, there was this lady that came to us recently I was talking about, and she used to have experiences with Rebazar when she was young. She told many of these things to me, etc. And I invited her over. Well, the thing is that, but she has no focus now. She's all obliterated, you might say. She's even pushed aside almost by the real guys on the real side, even though she's trying to cling to it, but she has all these other things that are more important to her. So, what can you say? Where is the gauge for all of this? You can't. Each person experiments on their own. They use the new you. I've made it simple. I decided this. I decided, this reality to be so here and to bring it in, and that, and each person does what they do. And Paul had many techniques. He did many, many techniques. Basically, it was to get people out of their body so they could objectively see themselves. And so, because most people can't objectively see themselves, or they can't see past this one-dimensional personal self, so it was getting them out of their body. And he first did astral projection to do that because that's very, very easy to do. And then he moved it into soul travel, which is, multi-dimensional. And then eventually the whole picture, which very few people could see, which is, the total awareness, which is really the isness. And he hinted at this. And so in the meantime, we have these experiences, but I'm very grateful to these people that have these experiences because it inspires me. I like to know these people because, again, here's somebody you can relate to. And yes, I understand the view. It's like, well, why don't I have this experience? Why don't I have this or that? It's understandable too. But now that you know life is an isness, it's even more than the experience. So when you're having the experience, that's one thing, but there's even more to it. So everybody's fine. Are you okay, Charles? Are you there? Charles?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we heard you, Charles. So I didn't mean to put you to sleep, but I get it. And this is where the step up part is that there's so many opportunities to become involved, to take the risk, to see more. So again, a lot of people do, but you got to take the risk. And this person that you talk about, the boys picked her because she's a risk taker. That's the only reason they could show her that. You see, not everybody's a risk taker. Got to be a risk taker. So from that, we'll see what happens. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Went off then. Okay, then someone may ask this question. So may ask, maybe you've just answered it. What qualifies someone to meet the real guides? Is it singing the new song for long, stepping up quietly or openly, longevity in the new presentation, or what? So some who have just joined the new presentation and done the new song for not up to a month. Like I said, are taken to the seventh level, instructed, guided without what we advocate here, stepping up visibly, as we see others doing. And they are giving the experience and the knowingness that others yearn for. So some people may ask, is it some impartiality here or what? Is it some impartiality on the part of the real guides?
Can you imagine being in Mozart's day and then you've got this little 5-year-old kid playing the piano and the violin more so and more eloquently than the old timers that had been around for 40 or 50 years playing in orchestras? Can you imagine their attitude?
Yeah, I can.
Well, how many lifetimes did Mozart, who became Mozart that during that lifetime, how many lifetimes did he practice to get to that point? He practiced a lot. I look at the movie Amadeus, and it's a movie. Of course, it's Hollywood in there, and they put in the drama. But I looked at a documentary of the Wright brothers that invented the airplane, etc., and anybody like that, and Tesla. These people were totally dedicated, and it's not one lifetime, but all of a sudden, the boys' life knows what's going on. It took me a lot of lifetimes to get here, to be able to take all this on and what's going on now. I had an experience maybe 20 years ago, and I've told this experience before, and saw myself. I was a view outside watching the personal self in this high-rise building, this building that was higher than all the others, all glass. And as I kind of moved the view in towards it, I saw a person there sitting at a desk. And, there's windows all around. This is a big building with windows all around, a big skyscraper. And the impression was it was Paul Newman, the greatest architect ever. And so the idea of Paul is Paul, Paul Twitchell, and Newman is the new man. That's where I got the new man from. And that was me. And what we're doing here. But you know how many lifetimes it's taken me to get here to be able to do this? I just didn't do it overnight. And just like the people in the corporation, they look at like, well, who's Duane? What did he do? Oh, he left the corporation. He was with the Eckmaster. He was with Darwin and Harold and whatever. Well, I was to go through that process. That was part of my schooling, you might say. It's kind of like when you go to high school and college, you take all those drudgery classes. Well, I had to go through all that too. But, it's taken me lifetimes to get here. That's book one, shows one of the lifetimes. But many, 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 at some point, I decided to do this, and I hung on. And so did Paul. We were to come into this lifetime to do this. And others have come and gone. They were given the opportunity. And so who can say? And so, again, it's like that, isn't it? So here's a person that all of a sudden has that experience. But when you look at the road trip that this individual's been on, you see the difference and the choices that were made to get to that point. That becomes the difference, to see that. See more than just the one-dimensional side. And so, again, I have a real consideration for people. Yes, people are struggling. They want the experiences and what have you. Yeah, well, creation's a toughie, doing everything we can. That's why I've created so many outlets for people to relate to everything and going over everything and creating all these groups on Facebook, over 1,200 groups, to just put every idea out there. And the latest one too, as I'm going to create, is your relationships. And these things are very important, but trying to relate to people in every which way at all, and taking on the confrontation of it too. No wonder people can't figure out what I'm doing, because it has nothing to do with political, spiritual, religions, or any of this funny stuff that is doctrines, considered doctrines that lead to what? Conformity and restriction. No, there's no doctrine, and can't even figure out the all-natural environment that is being presented here. But we're in this age. We're in this huge distortion, etc. You got all this going on. But again, look at really just even imagine. If you can't leave your body, imagine yourself outside of it. You're still outside of it, even if you imagine it. But just even imagine what each person has been through to get here, etc. And so all life is with all of us. And the best part is that it is recognition. It's not an idea that we carry. See, it's even better than that. We've carried ideas about life, what we think life is, creation and these things and the gods and all this stuff and the hierarchy, and all this sounds cool, really. Doesn't it? Until you have to deal with all of it, and then you see what real drudgery it is. And so what I love about what I'm doing is we ain't going to have any of that. And here's Val. I was going to say, well, what form do we fill out here to get things going? What form do you fill out to contact the guides or whatever? That's just kind of some humor here, because with the college, we're doing all that nonsense. And I told Val and Kelsey, I said, when we have the vessels, the vessel project, nobody's going to be filling out forms. You're going to be doing income taxes anymore. You won't even need a passport. We're doing our thing, and it's going to be very real and wonderful. And we don't need all this nonsense, just like the birds. But in the meantime, yes, people come into this lifetime. We all come in. We all look the same in a way. We have different bodies. We look the same. Like Abraham Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address, all men are created, and I'm sure he included women too, but he said all men are created equal. Well, realistically, we are. We're all real beings, free beings of real life. That's really what we are. But the recognition of that and the application and the intent and everything that goes with it, That's of a particular nature of each individual deciding that for themselves and when they decided it. And what's so cool about the isness is that you can decide that now when you recognize it. It's a nowness that is everything. And it's not about past or future, but when we're on the time track here and when we're in time and space creation, which is the physical, which is the hardest position to deal with and to even wake up to and to get any kind of confirmation with ourselves in this area, we've come through a lot to get here. But the best part is that you've got this isness now more so than looking to the sky and gods that are fake and that there's no such thing because it's an isness. And so again, that's the best that I can, define this as, Charles, and that, yes, these people have earned their position. And this is where, again, you know what? Earn it, more than earn it. That's what I've done for myself because this is a love affair. Hey, go way beyond the borders of anything that you can imagine, and you can do that. You have the right to decide that. Will you do it, or will you just play it safe, or will you take the risk? So again, it's a risk taker position. They could see that she's a risk taker, and at the same time, too, all the people that hear her experience, okay, guess what? How lucky they are to be able to hear it, because how many people don't hear it? You know, I feel fortunate that I hear it. When I hear these things, I about cry. I mean, this is so cool. It's very humbling to me that this comes through, and that Rebazar gave her this experience so that she could share it with others. It's not about who's having these experiences or who's not, but that she was willing to share it. And lots of times people aren't. People have experiences like this, and you know what? They won't share it, or they don't understand it, or they don't recognize it too. That is all involved also. I recognized it. I recognized the is when I was shown to, this is what you're going to be doing. This is what you're going to be sharing. But I recognized it. I had to recognize this isness. The others didn't. The corporation members, they don't recognize it. They look to the master. They look to gods. Okay. I recognize this. This is what I've written about, because I recognized it and the others didn't. That's why they didn't pick them. Besides, I'm the only one that stepped up. They didn't see it. So it's that recognition too. But again, turn it around, and that is that what a privilege it is to be able to, you're one of the few, like those few out there that can hear that experience, because the rest of the world is not hearing it. And even when it is told to the rest of the world, does the rest of the world care? Will it sincerely hear it and see it? See, so again, they're the privileged few, even though there is that, there is that literal idea there, but really the privileged few get to hear the experience. That's all that matters, because when you're hearing the experience, you're having it too. You're absolutely having it also. It's just a share time. Yes, go ahead, Charles.
Okay, then. I think that well explains what may be confusing to some people, or the ideas they may have.